recent. But I came across that yesterday when I was preparing for today's show. And so that's what that's all about. That was not staged as far as I know. That was an actual city council meeting. Now, I've attended a lot of city council meetings in my time, but I never had an incident like that, or encountered an incident quite like that. A couple of things I wanted to bring up on today's program. Well, let's roll on. Speaking of today's program, let's find out what's popular, okay?
Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Don't tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Don't tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna really, really, really wanna zig a zig.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
And here are things you need to know on this Wednesday. First of all, today is the last day of Sukkot. I know that sounds like something the Bajorans would say in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but it's actually off of the Jewish calendar. It's National Comic Book Day, and it's National One-Hit Wonder Day. I should have picked a one-hit wonder for the song of the day, but I didn't. I chose something else completely, okay? But you'll like it. I know you will. In news attack this morning, to help out during the holidays, Walmart will hire 55,000 seasoned employees. Really? Does it take 55,000 people to tell me the toy I want is out of stock? Survey says drivers prefer candy bars. Yeah, a survey of drivers has revealed that the best foods to eat while driving, according to Insure.com, said in its online survey of drivers, found that motorists most preferred foods while behind the wheel were candy bars. Well, that's a poorly worded sentence. After candy bars, it was French fries, potato chips, and chicken nuggets. And finally, be careful with that new iPhone. You know, you stood in line to get the new iPhone 5S or 5C. Just be sure to get a solid protective case for it. Seems that Americans have spent over $6 billion, that's right, billion with a B, on iPhone repairs since the iPhone was first launched by Apple in 2007. Of course, I don't think the folks at Apple will mind too much because they're making a tidy profit off the repairs. You know, as a matter of fact, my iPod 2, yeah, that's how old my iPod is. It seems like after the warranty expired, the whole thing just went kablooey. I mean, first it would not play sound at all, and then the power button, or the, let's see, well, in addition to the sound, then in order for me to get out of an app, first it was the stop button wouldn't work. The menu button down at the bottom, that quit working, and then the volume quit working. So in order for me to get out of an app, I had to power the thing down. Amazingly, that button didn't fail. Powered it down, and then turn it back on and go to the next program. And after a while, that got very tedious. So it has sat in a protective case for about a year now, and I haven't bought a new one yet. I'm working on it. But, so, Apple, they know what they're doing. And if you get a phone call like this on your iPhone, I think you better hang up or find some new friends, okay? They sound a little bit rough. Well, that's what's trending for you on this Wednesday. Now, let's see what's going on in the world of news as I try to find my news intro card. And a reminder, we'll have more news in just a few minutes for you. Rather, I'll have more news for you in a few minutes from the CBS World News Desk on this Wednesday. But in the meantime, here's Paul Harvey.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
And take a look at news headlines on this Wednesday morning. Texas Senator filibusters for hours. Texas Senator Ted Cruz spoke for hours yesterday into the night as part of a filibuster by Republicans. He spoke in support of defunding Obamacare in an attempt to block the Senate from voting on a bill from the House that defunds the Affordable Care Act. Now, if the Senate votes on the bill, the Democratic majority would likely amend the bill to continue to funding the Affordable Care Act. Cruz said he would talk until he is no longer able to stand. which really, really scares me. Iranian president calls for new nuclear talks. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said yesterday said to the United Nations General Assembly that his country is ready to resume talks about its nuclear program. He called the United Sanctions an inhumane act of violence against the Iranian people. He also said he is open to talks with the United States. The White House said the Iranian president's speech was less bombastic than other Iranian leaders. And the family of a mentally disabled man is suing the New York Police Department after police shot and killed him. The family said they were called an ambulance for their 28-year-old son, Mohammed Ba, who was depressed and needed medical care. But they say armed police showed up instead. The family said police forced their way into Ba's apartment. Police say he came at them with a knife and they shot him in self-defense. The family says the police handled the incident inappropriately and are asking for officers to receive training on handling such situations. And that, my friends, is a brief look at the news headlines. Again, we'll have more details on what's going on in the world from the CBS World News Desk coming up in a few minutes. Right now, though, we're going to take a gander at today's weather forecast. And a reminder, you can always check out the nationwide weather forecast 24/7 via direct link off of my website, tinyurl.com/Gunther's House or Gunther Mobile. Just click on the weather button, and it will take you straight to weather.com for the nationwide weather forecast.
Winter weather warning right now. Here's a live look at the Fox 6 snow stick. This is out on the weather dick.
And take a look at the weather forecast for this hump day. Starting off in the northeast, the region will see dry conditions today and into the upcoming weekend under mostly sunny skies. Today's highs will be in the 50s across northern Maine. The rest of the region will see highs mainly from the mid-60s to the mid-70s. In the south, tropical moisture will keep much of Florida unsettled through today. The best chance for heavier rain will be across central sections of the state. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are likely from Kentucky down through the Appalachians to Georgia and the western Carolinas today. Highs will be mainly in the upper 60s and 70s from the Carolinas to northern Georgia. Highs will be in the 80s from southern Georgia and Alabama through Florida. Highs near 90 degrees and above will occur from Arkansas and Louisiana back through Texas. Here in the Midwest, much of the region will be dry today. There will be a few showers, though, in the Ohio Valley. Gusty southeasterly winds are likely across the northern plains. Highs will be in the 70s across much of the region, but warm into the 80s over parts of Nebraska along with Kansas and Oklahoma. Out west, conditions across the region will become more unsettled as a potent trough of low pressure digs in. Widespread showers will occur today across the Pacific Northwest and from northern Nevada and Utah to Montana. Windy conditions are expected to prevail through the Rockies and Great Basin southward through parts of the desert Southwest. It will also be windy in the northern and central parts of the Sierra Nevadas. Las Vegas, Nevada could see some wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour today with blowing dust. Snow levels will drop to near 5,500 feet in the Washington Cascades. The northern Cascades could see anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow today. Rain will change to snow in the higher elevations of Idaho, western Montana, and northwest Wyoming tonight. Significant snow accumulations of 1 to 2 feet are possible tomorrow, especially over 9,000 feet, with more modest amounts of from 7,000 to 9,000 feet. Highs will be in the 30s and 40s in the higher elevations of the northwest, northern Rockies, and into the northern Sierra Nevadas today. Finally, the desert Southwest will see highs in the 80s and 90s for this Wednesday. And that, my friends, is a brief look at the nationwide weather forecast, again courtesy of the Weather Channel at weather.com.
I used to get wet. I used to sweat. I used to get caught outside in the rain and snow. But now I'm warm and dry. Please don't follow me from the sky. 'Cause I get my weather from the radio.
All right, well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll have Today in History, Find out what happened on this date in years past, along with celebrity birthdays, the CBS World News Roundup, plus a whole lot more. In addition, it will be the composer's date book, as well as the Writer's Almanac. In just a moment, you're listening to First Cup, and I'm your host, Joe Haffner.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's Wireless Companies, and the National Safety Council.
The Writer's Almanac podcast is supported by the Poetry Foundation, publisher of Poetry Magazine, now available in a digital subscription for iPad and iPhone. Subscriptions at poetryfoundation.org/digitalmag.
And here is the Writer's Almanac for Wednesday. It's the 25th of September, 2013. It was on this day, 1789, the Congress approved 12 amendments to the Constitution, which had been recently ratified. 10 of them would eventually become the Bill of Rights that we know today. It was George Mason from Virginia who had been disappointed in the Constitution. He thought that it gave too much power to a central government and with little protection for individual rights. So he lobbied for the amendments. And after a few years, Thomas Jefferson joined the cause, and George Washington and James Madison. In the summer of 1789, Madison introduced 17 amendments before Congress. That was narrowed down to 12, which were approved on this day, 1789, sent to the states for ratification, of which 10 were ratified, which protect, among other things, a citizen's right to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, a well-organized militia, and a speedy and public trial, and freedom from unreasonable search and seizure, and excessive bail, freedom from the quartering of troops in your home, and self-incrimination. And Article 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. One of the amendments which did not succeed would prohibit members of Congress from voting to raise their own pay without allowing the voters to have a say. It's the birthday of William Faulkner, born New Albany, Mississippi, 1897. Wrote 19 novels, 18 of them set in the South, 14 of them set in a fictional version of his hometown, Oxford. William Faulkner, who said the South's the place for a novelist to grow up because the folks there talk so much about the past. When I was a little boy, there'd be sometimes 20 or 30 people in the house, mostly relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, and second cousins. Some may be coming for overnight, staying on for months, swapping stories about the family and about the past, while I sat in a corner and listened. That's where I got my books. Faulkner wanted to get into the First World War. He was rejected by the U.S. Army Air Corps because he was only 5'6", so he applied for the Canadian Royal Air Force. He was still in training up in Canada when the war ended. Nonetheless, he returned home to Oxford, Mississippi, wearing an officer's uniform, and claimed to have been injured and to have a silver plate in his head, and went to Ole Miss for a few semesters as a war veteran, even though he'd never finished high school. It's the birthday of Francine Duplessis Gray, born in Warsaw, 1930, the novelist, short story writer. Her first novel was Lovers and Tyrants, came out in 1976. And it's the birthday of the children's author and cartoonist Shel Silverstein, born in Chicago, 1930, an author who avoided the press, refused to give interviews, did not go off on book tours. Here's a poem for today by Hilaire Belloc, The Yak. As a friend to the children, commend me the yak. You will find it exactly